Thank you, member, and thank you for that story. Columbia River Revelstoke.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's my absolute pleasure to rise today to speak to this very important issue. And I would like to share a teaching that I was given, and I believe it has a bearing on this discussion, and I quote, "If all green things that grow were taken from this earth, there could be no life. If all four-legged creatures were taken from this earth, there could be no life. If all winged creatures were taken from this earth, there could be no life. If all our relatives who crawl and swim and live within the earth were taken away, there could be no life. But if the human beings were taken away, life on earth would flourish. This is how insignificant we are," unquote. Mr. Speaker, in this context, yes, we are insignificant, but unfortunately our actions have been and continue to be very significant negatively on the salmon population. The headwaters of the Columbia River start in the Columbia Valley in the village of Canal Flats and flow out of Canada into the United States. And this once salmon-rich highway starts in my riding and travels about 1,200 kilometers to the Pacific Ocean through Astoria, Oregon. I reference this because the Chinook salmon have taken this route since time immemorial, finally making it home to a place that they were born. A journey that took them 4 to 5 months. Yet on arrival, most, I'm told, were up to 50 pounds and were staple food for the Indigenous people whose home that I respectfully share. Mr. Speaker, it has been our actions, both then and today, that begs the question, where are the salmon now? They are not in the Columbia River in my riding, I can tell you that, where they used to be abundant, and that is a tragedy, Mr. Speaker. We have to do better. Massive dams on both sides of the Canadian-U.S. border were built on the Columbia River, blocking the salmon's return to their ancestral spawning waters, now for over 8 decades. Yet in spite of their absence, they are still celebrated and revered. In the late summer and early fall of each year in my riding, the Columbia Salmon Festival is held on the traditional territories of the Shuswap Indian Band, the Secwepemc, and the Kiskanak First Nations, Tunaka. At this festival, there are dancers, artists, and storytellers from across the basin, where everyone is invited to join in for an all-day festival. Many to come to learn about the traditions of the local First Nations culture, and of course, the Chinook salmon that once inhabited these waters and the relationship that they had with the Indigenous peoples. I have been honored to participate in this celebration for many years, along with the Shuswap and the Kiskanak Band members, RCMP members, conservation officers, local government elected officials, community members, and elders in a traditional canoe voyage across Lake Windermere. Our canoe brigade paddles together in the sun, wind, and rain. We take the weather the way it comes. We paddle to James Chabot Beach in Invermere, where we celebrate the day with ceremonies and songs, and eventually end the day with a huge salmon feast. The purpose of this festival is to honor the salmon and give residents and visitors an understanding of what these waters used to hold, precious and strong Chinook salmon. Mr. Speaker, it is events like this festival and so many others that demonstrate how critical it is that we continue to work or do the work that is being done to bring back the salmon. Such things as the Columbia River Treaty and the negotiations with the Americans, and I'm thrilled to say, Mr. Speaker, the Indigenous people have a seat at that table through the work of many people to get them there. And also the Columbia River Salmon Reintroduction Initiative, which will help bring them home once again. And this initiative starts today, Mr. Speaker. Starts today, and it's driven by Indigenous people. And that's the important piece of this, I think, that needs to be highlighted. I conclude with a Koyudu prayer, and my prayer is that it will help the salmon find their way home. And I quote, "Come, swimmer, I'm glad to be alive now that you have come to this good place where we can play together. Take this sweet food and hold it tight." Thank you, Mr. Speaker.